Welcome everyone, Farmer Cup here. This is going to be a video to teach you how to use the grape processing facility in Farming Simulator 22. So first off, you need to get a hold of a grape processing facility in order to actually start producing something with it. So makes sense. Well, there's a couple ways to go about that. If you're playing on a map that has one, which I'm not sure if any of the maps currently do. I know Elm Creek, which is the one we're on, does not. But if you were going to purchase one or purchase the one on the map, you'd be able to go up to whatever it was. Now I know this is the oil mill, but the same figure works. Go up to the production facility, find this little wrench icon, which actually no, there is one down here, isn't there? Yeah, grape processing unit. There is one on this map. So down here, you go up to the wrench icon, hit R, and it'll ask you if you want to purchase it. Now be warned, if you do purchase it, you are stuck with it. You cannot sell it after you purchase it because you can't sell the land on it or anything like that. So you're stuck with it after you purchase it, just be aware of that. Now the second way, if we go back up over here to our grape processing plant, is, well, you can place one like I did here, and you can place more than one or however many you want. So if you wanted to do that, you can go into the store under construction, go over to production, and then find the one you're looking for with the grape processing plant. Where are we at in here? There we are, right there, the grape processing facility, and then you can place it out. So if I did place one, I could place one, well, there, and then if I did want to get rid of this, or this one for that matter, I can click on it, and I can sell it, so I can get rid of it after that. And then if I want to, I can just paint over like nothing happened. So yeah, you can buy one and place it wherever you want on land that you own if you wanted to go about it. But those are kind of the two ways to get a hold of a grape processing facility. So after you get a processing facility, you need to provide it with the appropriate inputs to get the appropriate outputs. So for grapes here, you're going to provide it, or for the grape processing facility, you're going to provide it with grapes, which makes sense. That's the only input. And then it will either produce, grape juice, or it'll produce raisins, or both. Sorry, clarify that. You can produce both at the same time if you'd like to. So those are what you need to do. So as far as getting resources into this guy, right here, you'll see a trigger icon. I have a trailer full of grapes, which you know is the only input. So if I back this trailer up here, get it somewhat close to the trigger, you'll see down on the bottom, it'll give me, there it is, I to start overloading grapes. So I can start overloading them. And again, it will start placing grapes into the production facility. And just like that, we put a full load of grapes in here. So now we know we have some inside of this facility, so we'll be good to go. Now the next thing I want to talk about before we get too much into detail about the production itself is the production's menu. So there's two ways to access this essentially. First is you hit escape to open up your main menu. You go over here to this conveyor belt icon. It'll take you to all of your production chains in here. Then you can find the one you're looking for, which for us is the production's facility here, the grape processing unit, which you can see we put 14,500 liters of grapes in it. So there you go. That's one way to access it. Second one is to go up to the wrench and hit R, and it'll directly put you on the unit you're on right here. So for example, if I was up here working with carpentry and I had a bunch of these listed out and I wanted to access this without having to scroll through, I could walk up to it. And again, it highlights the processing unit or the production facility you are working with. So now that we're in this menu, let's talk about a couple things. First off, actually, I want to hop out real quick. Down there in the bottom right-hand corner, it'll tell you what's going on with your production facility from the outside without having to go into that menu if you're near it. So you can see it goes away when I get far away from it, but if I get close to it, it comes back on. So it'll show you kind of what's going on. So just a side note as far as that goes. So inside the menu here, we have two productions essentially going on here. So we have raisins and grapes. So down here at the bottom, I can hit activate or deactivate. I can do that for both. I can have them both active if I wanted to do that, or I can have them both deactivated if I wanted to do that. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and leave them both as active. They'll start producing materials at that point. Now it'll be slow because the time is really slow, but regardless, that's how that works. Now the center screen here, there's a few things we want to talk about. The status, it'll say running, materials needed, or it'll say inactive if you don't have it. So for example, if I deactivate, it'll say inactive up there. And if it runs out of grapes, it will say materials needed up there. Now cycles per hour, that is how many production cycles this will go through in an hour, and I'll talk about what a production cycle is here in a second. Cost per hour. This is how much it's billing you per hour to run this facility. And then down here we have the recipe. So this is going to take 90 liters of grapes and produce 90 liters of raisins. Go down to the grape juice. It's going to take 90 liters of grapes and produce 72 liters of grape juice. So that is the conversion over to that. And you can see both of these are at 3 cycles and $2 an hour. Now the 3 cycles, going back to that, this is going to happen. This recipe is a production cycle. So this will happen 3 times every hour. The way this is set up here. So it'll happen 3 times every hour if you're producing raisins, which we're going to produce both for now. And that is essentially how that works. Now, if we go over here to the building storage, it's going to show us our capacities and how far we are or how close we are to being full on our various capacities. So grapes, raisins, and grape juice, which makes sense. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the output mode. So these are both set to storing right now. If I go down here to the bottom, I can change the output mode. So there's a couple different modes. There's storing, selling, distributing, and then back to storing. And I can change that for all of these. We're going to talk about what those mean now as we go forward. So first off, we have these guys activated. We're going to talk about the storing. So what the storing is going to do is as it produces the resources, it's going to spawn pallets out here in this checkered zone until this area is full. And once this area is full, it will keep filling up this area until this is full, and then it'll stop that production or whatever production it is. So it's going to do that until this is full, and then if you move a pallet out, it'll spawn another pallet, and so on and so forth as it can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed up time right now, and I'm going to bring you guys back in after we have a full pallet of each resource out here so we can take a look at what they look like. Alright, so a few hours have passed and we have a pallet of each. I actually had to stop the juice production sooner. The reason being this pallet here only has so grape juice 432 liters in a full pallet there, and this guy has 1,000 liters in a full pallet of raisins. So just something to note there, but those are what those pallets will look like. So that's what storing is going to do. Now the next couple of modes we're going to talk about will not affect any pallets out here. If the pallets have been spawned, you're stuck with them. You can't do anything with the pallets unless you sell them or bring them to the next production facility, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. So now if we go back into our production menu, we go back over to here. Let's just change this over to selling and talk about it just for a second. So selling, what is selling going to do? It's not going to wait until you have a full pallet to sell it. It'll just start selling the raisins as it feels it wants to in here. Now, how does it go about selling them? We go over here and we go down to, we can find raisins right there. It will sell them. So when let's say it decides to sell them right now, it's going to take the highest price, which is the Grocery Mart at $2,644, and it's going to sell them there. However, it is going to charge you a 40% delivery fee. So you're only going to get 60% of the total. So for example, if it decided to sell 1,000 liters of raisins right now, we would only get $1,586 for it. So just something to be aware of. I highly encourage you not to use the sell function if you can deliver them yourself, or unless you need to use the sell function for some reason. So just be aware of that. Same thing would happen with grape juice, as it would sell it off. So just a couple things to note with there. Now, that is how the selling function works. Now, if I change that over to distributing, couple things here. So distributing, what will this do? Distributing is designed in this game to take whatever you're producing and move it along the chain to the next production facility. Well, raisins would then go on to the cereal factory. So if I owned a cereal factory, it would transport them, and I haven't noticed a transport fee associated with this, or a very significant one. It would transport them as it goes to the cereal factory, so the cereal factory could use them in productions. Now notice I don't own a cereal factory, so what's going to happen with them if I leave it on distributing? It's not going to steal them. It's not going to sell them. It will just store them in here without creating any pallets until this gets full. So this is a good way to store a product inside the warehouse if you wanted to do it that way. And then if you wanted to wait for a high enough price where you felt okay taking the 40% hit, then you can change the output mode to selling it and it'll sell them all. Grape juice, it also has a distributing mode. However, there's nowhere for it to go. It's not used in any further productions. This is where it stops. It just gets sold. So again, it would just get stored here until you decided to either have it go into storing mode or selling mode. So storing mode would spawn pallets, selling mode would sell it off. So, but yeah, guys, that is pretty much everything as far as the production facility goes. And we've kind of already talked about this, but what do you do with these products? Again, raisins, you can move them further along the production facility to go to cereal, or again, raisins and grape juice, if we go into here, we can sell both of them off to make a profit. So those are kind of the two things you can do with the products that you produce at this facility. So anyway, guys, if you enjoyed, please drop a like down below. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button up on the screen to join the Farmer Cop channel, and turn on your notification bell so you don't miss any future videos I may post. This has been Farmer Cop. Thank you guys for coming and watching.